So today we're looking at multiplying polynomials, and we're looking at multiplying a trinomial times a binomial, binomials times binomials, etc. Now, we've worked on the binomial by binomials before, so we're going to concentrate on the trinomials. So basically what I have here is I have a trinomial times a binomial. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply these two together. When you multiply a binomial times a trinomial, you actually are going to be doing multiple distributions because you're going to be multiplying every term in one factor times every term in the other. So let's start with our first one. We're going to have 2p times 3p. And 2p times 3p is going to give me 6p to the fourth. So for my next one, I'm going to do 5p squared times 3p as well. Again, you're going to multiply every term in the factor by every term in the other factor. So 5p squared times 3p will give me 15p to the third cubed. Then I'm going to take negative 4 and also multiply that by 3p, and that will give me negative 12p. So what I've done now is I've multiplied all of the factors in the first term by all the factors by the first factor in the second term, which is this one here. That's the 3p. So the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do the positive 1, and I'm going to multiply that by all the factors. So let's do 2p cubed times positive 1. So that's going to give me a plus 2p cubed. Then I'm going to multiply the 5p squared times positive 1, which will give me plus 5p squared. And then I've got negative 4 times positive 1, which will give me minus 4. So once again, what I did was I multiplied the entire first factor, all of the terms in the first factor, by the first term in the second factor, and repeated the process with the second term in the second factor. So now what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look and see if I can combine any like terms. I do have a 15p cubed and a 2p cubed. So I know I can combine those guys. I don't see anything else that I can combine. So now I'm ready to go ahead and write my answer. So I'm going to end up with 6p to the fourth power, because that does not have any buddies. There are no other fourth degree terms. And I'm going to write my degree terms from highest to lowest. So now let's look at our cubics. I've got positive 15p cubed and 2p cubed. So that gives me 17p cubed. So now I've used this one and I've combined these two. So let's see what's left, highest to lowest. I've got a squared term. So I have 5p squared. Then I go with p, my next term, which is negative 12p. Lastly, I have my last term, which is minus 4. So this is how we multiply a binomial times a trinomial. Again, it's just distribution. It's just distribution. So if I wanted to do another example, we'll come down here and we'll do number 7. I'm going to take my first term, which is t, and I've got t times t squared, which is going to be t cubed. Then I have t times negative 3t, which will be minus 3t squared. And then I'll have t times 5, which is 5t. Once I've done that, I'm going to now take my second term, which is negative 1. And so I've got t squared times negative 1, which gives me minus t squared. I have negative 3t times negative 1, and that's going to give me a positive 3t, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And then I have 5 times negative 1, which is 5 times negative 1, which is going to give me negative 5. My next step, as we talked about before, is to look for what I can combine. I've got a negative 3t squared and a t squared, and I've got a 5t and a 3t. So I'm going to bring this down. That's going to be t cubed. I have negative 3t squared minus t squared. That gives me negative 4t squared. So those have all been used. And then I have 5t plus 3t, which is 8t, and minus 5. So again, I multiplied everything in the first term, factor, each term, by each factor in the second term. And you can see by the color coding that it's this factor, this term times all three, and this term times all three, just like I did in the first example. So again, this is how we multiply and simplify a binomial times a trinomial. And the reason we're doing this is because this is going to tie directly into our next unit, which is cubic functions.